My brothers and sisters of Africa, my sons and daughters of the diaspora, wherever you stand tonight in the dust of the Sahel, in the streets of Dar es Salaam, in the avenues of Brooklyn, in the alleys of Kingston, in the markets of Nairobi, hear my voice with the fullness of your spirit. Because what I speak tonight is not politics, it is not commentary, it is not opinion. It is a call from the ancestors themselves asking us whether we have forgotten who we are. Today, a nation has declared a victory. A number has been written, 98%. Some celebrate, some clap, some pretend not to see. But I, as a son of Africa who has walked through the wounds and the wisdom of this continent, feel something different. I feel the trembling heartbeat of a people who are being told to accept perfection as truth, silence as peace, obedience as maturity, and I must speak. Because there are moments in history when numbers stop being statistics and become symbols, when results stop being results and become warnings. 98% is not simply a victory. It is a mirror held up to the face of our continent, asking whether we still know the smell of truth. My voice tonight is not raised against Tanzania, nor against its people, who are our brothers and our sisters, bound to us not by borders drawn by colonizers, but by the breath of the same ancestors who crossed deserts, mountains, rivers, and oceans with the courage of lions. I speak instead against a system that has learned to polish chains until they shine brighter than freedom, a system that has perfected the art of disguising control as stability. For too long, Africa has been taught to equate applause with progress. When the West smiles at us, we think we are moving forward. When foreign observers praise us, we think we have done well. But I ask you tonight, since when did our liberation depend on the approval of those who once carved our lands like meat on a table? Since when did we begin to celebrate results instead of the people behind them? Since when did we begin to admire numbers more than we protect truth? I have seen the world clap for African silence. I have witnessed how they applaud us when we imitate their democracies like actors reading scripts written in foreign languages. But when we dare to demand sovereignty, when we dare to stand, to question, to think, they call us dangerous, rebellious, unstable. My message tonight is not for those who fear an awakened Africa. My message is for the youth of Tanzania, for the youth of Africa, for the diaspora whose hearts beat in rhythm with ours, even oceans away. To the young Tanzanian who stands in a crowded bus wondering if your voice still matters. To the student in Dar es Salaam who looks at the results and wonders if the future is already predetermined before you even raise your hand. To that young woman in Mwanza who works 2 jobs yet still dreams of a nation where her voice is equal to her effort, hear me well, your vote is not a favor from your leaders. Your voice is not a gift from the powerful. It is your inheritance paid for by ancestors who sang of freedom even as the chains tore into their skin. The destiny of Africa cannot be built on victories that leave the people silent. It cannot be built on results that look perfect on paper but leave the streets unconvinced. It cannot be built on governments that rule for applause rather than for truth. Perfection in politics, my brothers and sisters, is often nothing more than the perfume used to hide the smell of fear. But Tanzania is not alone. What happened there is not an isolated event. It is a reflection of a deeper disease spreading across our continent, the fear of accountability, the fear of being questioned, the fear of a youth whose eyes are open, the fear of a population that has tasted awareness and refuses to return to sleep. I speak tonight not as a president guarded by power, but as a soldier of the African spirit, as a son of this soil that gave birth to Nkrumah, Sankara, Nyerere, Lumumba, and every dreamer who dared to say that Africa belongs to Africans. I remember the Tanzania of Julius Nyerere, a Tanzania that carried the flame of integrity, a Tanzania that believed unity was not an idea but a duty. He built schools, he empowered farmers, he spoke truth even when truth was costly. He taught us that liberation is not complete until every African nation stands tall. What would he say today? What would he think of elections celebrated as spectacles rather than sacred processes? Let me be clear. I honor the Tanzanian people, their labor, their struggles, their dignity. The pain of one African mother is the pain of all African mothers. The hunger of one African worker is the hunger of the entire continent. The disappointment of one student in Tanzania echoes in the classrooms of Accra, Bamako, Nairobi, and Johannesburg. But I must ask, how can a people be free if they cannot truly choose? How can we speak of democracy when the outcome is written before the ink touches the ballot? How can we claim progress when the youth walk with questions that no one dares to answer? We are told Africa is developing. They show us skyscrapers, highways, conferences. They show us leaders shaking hands with foreign powers. Yet in our villages, hunger still walks barefoot. In our cities, truth still hides behind curtains of fear. The enemy has changed shape. It no longer wears colonial uniforms. Now it wears suits and smiles and speaks our languages fluently while serving interests that are not ours. To the youth of Africa, you are not too small to change a system. Every empire in history has fallen because its youth stopped fearing it. Read, question, organize. Do not let anyone convince you that politics is the destiny of the powerful. Politics is your inheritance. Leadership is not a throne. It is a burden carried by those who love their people more than themselves. And to the diaspora, you who live under foreign flags but still hear Africa calling within you, your struggle is not separate from ours. When you face discrimination in America, when you are profiled in Europe, when your voice is muted by systems that fear your truth, remember this. The same chain that binds you abroad is forged by the same powers that exploit us here. You are Africa. Even if you stand on distant shores, your fight is our fight. Our rise is your rise. When Tanzania claims a 98% victory, the world may see success, but I see a question. Do the youth believe it? Do the workers feel it? Do the streets accept it? Because no statistic, no celebration, no speech can hide the silence of a betrayed people. Africa has known too many victories that buried truth. We celebrated independence only to wake under new masters wearing African faces. We embraced democracy only to discover it was scripted. We must stop mistaking performance for progress. Leadership is not measured by foreign invitations or international praise. Those are illusions. True leadership is measured by the trust of the people, and that trust cannot be bought, cannot be manipulated, cannot be manufactured with numbers. Across Africa, I see a storm rising. In West Africa, the youth speak without fear. In East Africa, Nyerere's spirit still whispers in the streets. In Central Africa, the people are learning to see through deception. And in the diaspora, the awakening is spreading, the chains are weakening, the illusions are fading. To the leaders of Africa, I say this with respect. The people do not belong to you. You belong to the people. The power you hold is borrowed, temporary, sacred. Do not betray it. Do not manipulate results. Do not trade truth for applause. A leader who fears the people is already defeated. To the diaspora, you are no longer spectators. Africa needs you. Your ideas, your investments, your voice, your solidarity. The bridge between us must not remain emotional. It must become structural. When the African in Lagos and the African in London begin to think together, act together, rise together, no empire can divide us again. Tanzania's 98% victory should awaken every African heart, not to criticize but to reflect. To understand that freedom without honesty is only theater. Democracy without truth is only choreography. Africa must define democracy on her own terms, not as imitation, but as creation, as a reflection of our culture, our justice, our collective conscience. I believe in Africa. I believe in the youth rising from the streets of Ouagadougou to the suburbs of Johannesburg. I believe in the mothers who work without rest, in the farmers who bend under the sun, in the diaspora who carry Africa in their eyes even when the world tries to erase them. I believe in the dawn that is coming. The world expects us to break, but we will rebuild. The world expects us to compete, but we will unite. The world expects us to kneel, but we will stand. Africa will rise, not because of numbers written in government buildings, but because truth can no longer be buried, because the youth can no longer be silenced, because the diaspora can no longer be divided, because the ancestors are watching, and the future is calling. My brothers and sisters, history stands before us once again, asking the same question it has asked for centuries. Will Africa rise together, or will we continue falling apart, one election at a time? Tonight, I answer, Africa will rise, because the era of illusions is ending, the age of awakening has begun, and no chain, no matter how polished, can hold a people who have remembered their power. I speak not with anger, but with purpose, not with fear, but with faith, not with despair, but with certainty. Our time has come, the dawn is near, and Africa, the mother of civilization, will rise again, not with imitation, but with truth, not with silence, but with justice, not with borrowed dreams, but with her own. And when the story of this generation is written, may it say that we chose courage, may it say that we chose unity, may it say that Africa rose and never fell again,